The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the Wanderer's Hope. Captain Hyun-woo opened his eyes slowly, feeling the cold bite of the cryo chamber as it released him. His body ached in ways he had never felt before. The ship's computer voice spoke in calm tones, telling him that the wake-up sequence was complete. He pulled himself out of the chamber and looked around. Everything seemed wrong. The ship was too quiet. The lights flickered in patterns he didn't recognize. Hyun-woo moved to the main console and checked the system readouts. His heart sank when he saw the date. They had been asleep for almost 10,000 years. The mission was supposed to last 200 years. They were explorers sent to find new worlds for humanity. Something had gone terribly wrong with the cryo systems. Hyun-woo's hands shook as he activated the wake-up protocol for the rest of the crew. Dr. Ji-won was the first to join him on the bridge. She was a scientist, smart and careful in everything she did. When she saw the date on the screen, her face went pale. "This can't be right," she whispered. Lieutenant Minho came next, followed by Engineer Soman. Both of them had the same shocked expression when they learned the truth. They had traveled not just through space, but through time itself. Everything they knew was gone. Everyone they loved had been dead for thousands of years. "We need to figure out where we are," Hyun-woo said, trying to keep his voice steady. He was the captain. The crew needed him to be strong. Soman worked on the navigation systems while Ji-won scanned the nearby space. They were in orbit around a planet that wasn't in any of their star charts. The planet looked beautiful from space, with blue oceans and green continents. But it wasn't Earth. It wasn't even close to where they were supposed to be. "Captain, I'm picking up something," Minho said from the tactical station. "A ship just appeared on our sensors. It's big. Much bigger than ours." The alien vessel came into view on their main screen. It was massive, covered in smooth armor that gleamed like silver. The design was nothing like human ships. It moved with grace and purpose, circling around the Wanderer's Hope like a predator studying its prey. "They're scanning us," Soman reported. "I think they're trying to communicate." Ji-won worked quickly to establish a connection. After a few minutes, a face appeared on their screen. It wasn't human. The creature had purple skin, 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern, and a mouth that moved in strange ways when it spoke. The translation system struggled to keep up, but eventually words came through. "Primitive vessel, identify yourself," the alien said. Its voice was deep and filled with authority. Hyun-woo stepped forward. "I am Captain Hyun-woo of the human ship Wanderer's Hope. We are explorers from Earth. We seem to have traveled further than we intended." The alien's 4 eyes widened. For a moment it said nothing. Then it made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret. It might have been laughter. "Human? You claim to be human?" "Yes," Hyun-woo said, confused by the reaction. "Is there a problem?" "Humans are a myth," the alien replied. "An old story we tell children. They don't exist. They never existed. Whatever you are, you're not human." Ji-won joined Hyun-woo at the screen. "I assure you we are human. We can provide genetic samples, historical records, anything you need." The alien, who introduced himself as Commander Tilrax of the Varesh fleet, seemed uncertain. "If you are truly what you claim, then this is a matter for the coalition. You will follow my ship to Station Orinthia. Do not attempt to resist or flee. Your vessel is no match for ours." The communication ended. Hyun-woo looked at his crew. They all wore the same worried expression. "We don't have much choice," he said. "Wake up the rest of the crew. We need everyone alert for whatever comes next." Over the next few hours, more crew members were awakened. Each one had to face the same terrible truth: they had lost everything they knew. But they were alive and they were together. That had to be enough. The journey to Station Orinthia took 2 days. During that time, Ji-won searched through their ship's historical database looking for anything that might explain why aliens thought humans were myths. She found nothing. As far as their records showed, humanity was thriving when they left Earth. There were billions of humans across dozens of colonies. When Station Orinthia came into view, the crew of the Wanderer's Hope could only stare in wonder. The station was enormous, easily 100 times larger than their ship. It was shaped like a ring spinning slowly in space. Thousands of ships moved around it like insects around a light. They docked in a bay designed for cargo vessels. Armed guards were waiting for them. The guards were different species, some tall and thin, others short and wide. All of them carried weapons and wore armor. They treated the humans like criminals, ordering them to line up and follow without question. Hyunwoo kept his crew calm as they were marched through the station's corridors. Aliens stopped to stare at them. Some pointed and whispered. Others pulled their children away as if humans were dangerous. They were brought to a large room with white walls and bright lights. Scientists waited for them, along with officials wearing elaborate robes. An older alien with silver skin and wise eyes stepped forward. This was High Arbiter Kelthor, the leader of the Galactic Coalition Council. "So," Kelthor said, studying the humans carefully, "Commander Tilrax brings me ghosts. Legends made flesh. Tell me, creatures, what game is this? Who sent you to deceive us?" "No one sent us," Hyunwoo said firmly. "We are human. We left Earth nearly 10,000 years ago to explore the galaxy. Our cryosystems malfunctioned. We only just woke up." Kelthor made a gesture and the scientists moved forward with scanning devices. They took samples of blood, skin, and hair from each human. They measured everything about them, treating them like laboratory specimens rather than living beings. Hours passed before the results came back. Hyunwoo watched as Kelthor's expression changed from skepticism to shock. The Arbiter read the reports again and again as if he couldn't believe what they said. "The genetic markers match," Kelthor said quietly. "The ancient records. They're accurate. These beings are actually human." A murmur ran through the room. The aliens looked at each other with fear and excitement in their eyes. Commander Tilrax stepped forward. "High Arbiter, if they are truly human, what does this mean?" Kelthor was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with concern. "It means we have a problem. Humans were not meant to return. They were supposed to remain lost, forgotten. The predecessor council made certain of it." "Why?" Ji-won demanded. "What did we do?" "What didn't you do?" Kelthor replied. "Humans were dangerous, unpredictable. You refused to follow rules. You adapted to any environment. You survived things that killed other species. You bonded with creatures you shouldn't have befriended. You never surrendered, even when defeat was certain. The predecessors feared you, so they erased you from history after you disappeared." Hyunwoo felt anger rising in his chest. "So you turned us into monsters in your stories." "No," Kelthor said. "We turned you into myths. And now the myth has returned. The question is, what do we do with you?" The humans stood together facing the alien council. They were alone in a galaxy that feared them, surrounded by beings who thought they were legends. But they were real and they were here. Whatever came next, they would face it together. That was the human way. The humans were given quarters in the oldest section of Station Orinthia. The rooms were small and cold, clearly not designed for living beings who mattered. Guards stood outside their doors at all times. They were prisoners in everything but name. Hyunwoo called a meeting with his senior crew on their third day at the station. Lieutenant Minho had been watching the guards and mapping the station layout. Engineer Soman had been studying the technology around them. Dr. Ji-won had been reading everything she could access about the Galactic Coalition. "We need someone who can talk to these aliens properly," Hyunwoo said. "Someone who understands politics and diplomacy." "We have someone," Ji-won replied. "Ambassador Yoonji. She was trained for first contact situations. She's still in cryo on the ship." They requested permission to wake more crew members. After 2 days of negotiations, the coalition agreed. Yoonji was brought to the station and awakened. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a quick mind. When she learned about their situation, she immediately started planning. "They're afraid of us," Yoonji said after reviewing everything. "Fear makes people do stupid things. We need to show them we're not a threat, but we also can't appear weak." It's a difficult balance. High Arbiter Kelthor summoned them to the council chambers on the 6th day. The chamber was huge, with seats arranged in circles that rose up toward a domed ceiling. Representatives from 12 different species sat in judgment, looking down at the humans. Kelthor spoke first. "We have verified your genetic identity. You are human. This creates a unique problem for the coalition. By law, every sentient species has the right to recognition and representation. However, humanity has been absent for 10,000 years. The galaxy has changed. You don't fit into our current structure." Yoonji stepped forward. She had dressed in formal clothes from the ship's storage, looking every bit like an ambassador should. "High Arbiter, we ask only for what is our right. Recognition as a sentient species, freedom to exist without imprisonment, a chance to find our place in this new galaxy." A tall alien with green scales stood up. "And if we refuse?" "Humans were dangerous before. What if you're still dangerous?" Then test us, Yunji said calmly. You fear what you don't know. So learn about us, test us. Let us prove we deserve recognition. The council members talked among themselves. Kelthor raised a hand for silence. Very well. The coalition field trials will take place in 2 months. These trials test strength, speed, intelligence, and teamwork. Every species that wishes to join the coalition must compete. If humans can hold their own against established species, we will grant you recognition. Yunji bowed her head. We accept. After the meeting, Minho pulled Yunji aside. Do you know what you just agreed to? We don't know anything about these trials. We don't know what we're up against. I know, Yunji said, but it's the only chance they'll give us. We have to take it. The coalition allowed them to wake more crew members. 200 humans were brought to the station over the next week. Among them was Doyun, a young engineer who had been training under Somin. He walked through the station with wide eyes, fascinated by every piece of alien technology he saw. Look at this, Doyun said, pointing at a door panel. They use quantum resonance for simple door locks. That's incredible. We were still using electronic keys when we left Earth. Somin smiled. Stay curious, Doyun. That curiosity might save us. Jiwan spent her time in the station's library, a vast digital archive of galactic history. What she found disturbed her. She brought her findings to Hyunwoo in private. The records are incomplete, she said. Large sections of history are missing or corrupted. But I found fragments, references to humans in something called the Great Silence Wars. We fought alongside some species and against others. The records say we were never defeated. We just vanished. Why would we vanish? Hyunwoo asked. I don't know. But there's more. The predecessor council ordered all human colonies to be forgotten. Ships were sent to erase evidence of our existence. It wasn't just historical revision. It was systematic elimination from galactic memory. Hyunwoo felt cold. They wanted us gone. They wanted us forgotten, Jiwan corrected. There's a difference. You don't erase something unless you fear it might come back. As the humans prepared for the trials, they noticed something changing. Not all aliens treated them with fear. Some were curious. A few were even friendly. Commander Tilrax, the Varesh officer who had first found them, visited their quarters one evening. I owe you an apology, Tilrax said to Hyunwoo. I didn't believe you were real. I thought you were criminals pretending to be legends. I was wrong. Why the change? Hyunwoo asked. I've been reading the old records, the unsealed ones. Humans saved my ancestors during the plague wars. Your medical technology cured diseases we thought were death sentences. You asked for nothing in return. That's not how dangerous creatures behave. We're not dangerous, Hyunwoo said. We're just trying to survive. Tilrax clicked his mandibles together, a sign of agreement among his people. Perhaps. But the council fears you anyway. They believe the field trials will expose your weaknesses. They think you'll fail. What do you think? Minho asked. Tilrax looked at each of them carefully. I think you're more dangerous than the council realizes. Not because you're violent, but because you don't know how to give up. I've watched you these past weeks. Other species would have broken under the pressure. You just adapt. That terrifies them. After Tilrax left, the crew discussed what he had said. They were beginning to understand their situation better. The galaxy didn't just fear human strength. It feared human stubbornness. The refusal to accept defeat. The coalition announced the trials would include 7 events. Pure strength competitions, speed races through difficult terrain, endurance tests in extreme environments, strategic combat simulations, team coordination challenges, and a final event called the Gauntlet that combined everything. Each species could enter up to 50 competitors across all events. The humans would be competing against species that had evolved for thousands of generations after humanity left. Species that had been designed by their environments to excel in specific areas. Yunji gathered the crew for a meeting. We can't win by being stronger or faster. We have to be smarter. We have to use what makes us human. And what's that? Someone asked. We adapt, Yunji said. We work together. We refuse to quit. Every other species here specializes in something. We're generalists. That's our advantage. But not everyone was supportive. High Arbiter Kelthor made a public announcement about the trials. He spoke of giving humans a fair chance, but his words carried a different message. He reminded the galaxy of the old legends. The dangerous humans who couldn't be controlled. Jiwan watched the announcement with growing concern. He's setting us up to fail. Even if we do well, he'll find a way to reject us. Then we'll do more than well, Hyunwoo said. We'll exceed every expectation. We'll show them what humans really are. The weeks passed quickly. The humans trained in whatever facilities the coalition allowed them to use. They studied the other species, learning their strengths and weaknesses. Young Doyen proved especially helpful, figuring out the principles behind alien technology and finding ways to work with it. 1 week before the trials, disaster struck. A power failure in the station's old section caused an explosion. Fire spread through the corridors. The guards ran to safety, abandoning the human quarters. Minho didn't hesitate. He organized the crew into rescue teams. They fought through smoke and flames to reach trapped aliens in nearby sections. Salman used her engineering knowledge to seal breaches. Ji-won treated the injured with their limited medical supplies. When the fire was finally controlled, they had saved 47 aliens from 6 different species. Commander Tilrax was among them. Minho had pulled him from a collapsed corridor, carrying him to safety despite the danger. Tilrax recovered in the medical bay. When Hyunwoo visited him, the Varesh officer grabbed his hand. You didn't have to save us. You could have escaped. The guards left you to die. That's not what we do, Hyunwoo said simply. No, Tilrax agreed. It's not. I'm starting to understand why the predecessors feared you. Not because you're cruel, but because you make the rest of us look selfish by comparison. Word of the rescue spread through the station. Public opinion began to shift. Some aliens started to question whether humans were really the monsters from the old stories. Others doubled down on their fear, insisting it was a trick. On the eve of the trials, Yoonji stood before the gathered human crew. Tomorrow the galaxy will watch us. They expect us to fail. They want us to fail. Some of them need us to fail, because our existence challenges everything they believe. But we're going to show them something they've forgotten. We're going to show them what humanity means, the crew cheered. They were ready. The field trials would begin, and humanity would take the field for the first time in 10,000 years. The morning after Yoonji's speech, something unexpected happened. The coalition gave the humans access to the main training facilities. The official reason was fairness. Every species needed proper preparation time. But Hyunwoo suspected the real reason was different. The council wanted to watch them train, to study their weaknesses. The training center was massive. It had rooms for every type of physical activity imaginable. Gravity could be adjusted in different sections. Temperature, air pressure, and even atmospheric composition could be changed. Species from across the station used the facility, and now humans would join them. Among the newly awakened crew was Ji-hyun, a woman who had been an Olympic athlete before joining the exploration mission. She was lean and strong, with quick reflexes and sharper instincts. When she saw the training facility, her eyes lit up. This is perfect, she said. I can work with this. Ji-hyun took charge of physical conditioning. She organized the crew into training groups based on their abilities. Some would focus on strength events, others on speed or endurance. Everyone would train for teamwork. Another awakened crew member was Taejin, a former military strategist. He had spent 20 years studying warfare and tactics before joining the mission. He was quiet and thoughtful, always watching and analyzing. Taejin took on the job of studying the competition. Know your enemy, Taejin said during his first briefing. Not to hate them, but to understand them. Each species has advantages. The Kralix are incredibly strong but tire quickly. The Venthi are fast but fragile. The Maroon can survive in any environment but lack coordination. We need to know all of this. The medical officer, Sora, made a discovery during routine health checks. She was examining the crew's response to the station's different gravity settings when she noticed something strange. Humans recovered from physical stress faster than expected. Much faster. Look at this. Sora showed Ji-won her findings. After intense exercise, the Kralix need 2 days to recover. The Venthi need 3. Humans? We need less than 1 day. Our bodies rebuild faster. Ji-won studied the data carefully. It's our evolutionary history. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We didn't catch prey by being fast. We chased them until they collapsed from exhaustion. Our bodies are designed for endurance. There's more, Sora continued. Our pain tolerance is unusually high, and our bodies can adapt to different environments within hours, not days or weeks. This information changed everything. Taejin adjusted his strategies to focus on human endurance. If they couldn't win through raw strength or speed, They would win by outlasting everyone else. The training days fell into a rhythm. Mornings were for physical conditioning. Ji-hyun pushed the crew hard, but she also taught them to listen to their bodies. Pain is information, she said. Learn to understand what it's telling you. Afternoons were for strategy sessions with Taejin. He showed them recordings of past field trials, pointing out patterns and weaknesses. The Kraliks always charge straight ahead. The Venthi rely too much on their speed. The Maroon work individually, never as a true team. These are habits. We can use them. Evenings were for team building. The humans ate together, shared stories, and supported each other. This was when something special happened. Aliens began joining them. It started with a young Venthi named Skrix. He was training for the trials as well, representing his species. One evening, he approached the human dining area hesitantly. "May I sit with you?" he asked. The humans welcomed him. Skrix ate quietly at first, just listening to their conversations. They talked about Earth, about the world they had lost. They laughed and joked despite their difficult situation. After several evenings, Skrix finally spoke. "You're different from what I expected," he said. "The stories say humans are dangerous, but you're just people." "That's all we've ever been," Hyunwoo replied. More aliens began joining the evening gatherings. Some were curious. Others were lonely. The humans welcomed them all. This behavior confused many observers. Humans formed friendships with beings who were completely different from them. They bonded with their competitors. Commander Tilrax visited often. Since Minho saved his life, the Varish officer had become an unofficial ally. He brought information that wasn't in the public records. "The council is planning something," he told them one night. "The field trials are being adjusted. Made harder." "How much harder?" Minho asked. "Hard enough to make you fail," Tilrax said. "They're not giving you a fair chance. They're setting you up for defeat." Taejin absorbed this information without emotion. "Then we adapt." "What specific changes are they making?" Tilrax provided details. The strength competition would use equipment designed for the Kraliks, who were 3 times stronger than humans. The speed trials would take place in terrain that favored the Venthi. The endurance test would be in environments considered impossible for most species. "They're trying to eliminate us in the first 3 events," Taejin said after Tilrax left. "If we fail those, we won't have enough points to continue." "So we don't fail," Ji-hyun said. "We find ways to compete that they won't expect." The training intensified. Ji-hyun taught the crew parkour techniques, using momentum and creativity instead of raw speed. Salman worked with Doyeon to understand the alien equipment, finding ways to use it more efficiently. Taejin developed strategies that played to human strengths rather than trying to match alien advantages. Elder Donga, the oldest crew member at 70 years, became important in unexpected ways. He couldn't compete in the physical events, but he kept the crew's spirit strong. Every evening he shared stories about Earth, about oceans and mountains, about cities and cultures, about what it meant to be human. "We're more than our muscles and our minds," Donga said. "We're our history, our determination, our ability to find hope in darkness. That's what makes us human. That's what the galaxy forgot." As the weeks passed, Sora made more discoveries about human physiology. Humans could function in temperature ranges that killed other species. They could survive with less oxygen, less water, less food. Their bodies simply refused to quit until there was absolutely no option left. "It's like we're designed to survive," Sora told the senior crew. "Every system in our body has backup systems, redundancies. Other species are optimized for their homeworlds. We're optimized for survival anywhere." This information shaped the final training plans. The humans would use their adaptability as a weapon. Where other species specialized, humans would generalize. Where others quit, humans would persist. But not everyone was supportive. High Arbiter Kelthor made another public announcement. He emphasized that the trials would be fair but challenging. His words seemed reasonable, but his eyes told a different story. He wanted the humans to fail. He needed them to fail. Intelligence gathered by friendly aliens revealed why. The predecessor council hadn't just erased humans from history. They had built the entire coalition structure on the assumption that humans were gone. If humans returned and succeeded, it would prove the predecessors had been wrong. It would challenge the foundation of galactic society. "They can't let us win," Jiwon said. "Not really. Even if we earn it, they'll find reasons to reject us." Then we make it impossible to reject us, Yunji replied. We don't just compete, we excel. We show them something so undeniable that even the council can't ignore it. 3 days before the trials, something happened that changed everything. A group of young aliens came to the human quarters. They represented 8 different species, including some who had never spoken to humans before. Their spokesperson, a maroon named Calix, stepped forward. We've been watching you train, watching how you work together, how you support each other, how you welcome others even when they're your competitors. Our elders tell us to fear you. But we see something different. We see what the galaxy lost when humans disappeared. What do you want from us? Hyunwoo asked. To learn, Calix said simply. Teach us how to work together like you do. Teach us how to refuse to quit. Teach us what it means to be human. The humans looked at each other. Then Ji-yoon stepped forward with a smile. Okay, but training starts early. Can you keep up? The young aliens joined the human training sessions. They struggled at first. The concept of truly working together, of sacrificing individual glory for team success was foreign to them. But they learned, and in teaching them the humans refined their own methods. On the final night before the trials, the entire crew gathered together. 200 humans and 30 young aliens who had become honorary members of the human team. Donga stood before them all. Tomorrow we face the field trials, he said. The galaxy will watch us. They'll judge us. They'll decide if we deserve to exist. But here's what I want you to remember. We already know who we are. We're human. That means something. It has always meant something. Tomorrow we remind the galaxy what they forgot. The room erupted in cheers, humans and aliens together, united by something bigger than species or politics. United by the simple human principle that everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves respect. Everyone matters. Hyunwoo stood with his senior crew looking at the gathered crowd. Whatever happens tomorrow, he said quietly, we've already won something. We've shown them we're real. We're not myths or legends. We're people. And people don't give up. The field trials would begin at dawn. The arena of proving was ready. The arena of proving was the largest structure the humans had ever seen. It stretched across an entire district of Station Orinthia, with sections designed for different events. Billions of beings across the galaxy would watch through broadcast systems. The trials happened once every 5 years, and this year, they would witness something unprecedented. Humans competing for the first time in galactic history. The opening ceremony began at dawn. Representatives from 12 species entered the arena to massive cheers. The Krylix stomped their feet, making the ground shake. The Venthi moved in perfect formation, their movements like a dance. The Murun stood proud, each one alone even among their team. Then the humans entered. The crowd fell silent. 200 humans walked into the arena wearing simple uniforms. They didn't stomp or dance. They simply walked together, supporting each other, moving as one. At the front, Captain Hyunwoo carried the flag they had designed, a blue circle representing Earth, surrounded by stars for all the worlds they had hoped to find. High Arbiter Kelthor stood in the judge's box, his silver face impossible to read. He spoke through the amplification system, his voice reaching every corner of the arena and every screen across the galaxy. Today we witness history. The species once called human returns to compete. They claim their place among us. The trials will show us the truth. Let the first event begin. The first event tested pure strength. Competitors had to lift massive weights and hold them overhead for as long as possible. The equipment had been adjusted to Krylix specifications, requiring tremendous power just to move. The Krylix competitors went first. They lifted the weights easily, roaring with triumph. The crowd cheered. Other species struggled but managed respectable times. Then it was humanity's turn. Ji-hyun was the first human to attempt it. She approached the weight bar. Knowing it was designed for beings 3 times stronger than her, she gripped it firmly, set her feet, and pulled. The weight barely moved. The crowd began to murmur. Some laughed, but Ji-hyun didn't quit. She adjusted her stance, used her legs more efficiently, and pulled again. The weight lifted an inch, then another. Slowly, painfully, she raised it to her shoulders. Her whole body shook with effort. She couldn't lift it overhead, but she held it at her shoulders for 30 seconds before carefully setting it down. The crowd went quiet. She hadn't won, But she hadn't quit either. More humans attempted the lift. None of them could match the Kralix times, but each one gave everything they had. A young competitor named Seojin managed to lift the weight to his chest and hold it there for 40 seconds, longer than any human before him. His arms trembled and sweat poured down his face, but he didn't drop it until time was called. The humans placed last in the strength event. But something had changed in the arena. The other species had expected humans to quit, to give up when faced with impossible odds. Instead, they had fought for every second. The second event was the speed trials. Competitors raced through a complex course with obstacles, sharp turns, and difficult terrain. The course favored the Venthi, who were naturally fast and agile. The Venthi went first, moving like lightning. They completed the course in times that seemed impossible to beat. Other species tried and failed to match them. Then the humans lined up. Seojin was chosen for the first human attempt. He was young and fast, but everyone knew he couldn't match Venthi's speed. As he waited at the starting line, Taejin's words echoed in his mind. "Don't try to be faster than them. Be smarter," the signal sounded. Seojin ran, but not just ran. He used parkour techniques Ji-hyun had taught them. When others went around obstacles, he went over or through them. When others took the designated paths, he found shortcuts. He used momentum and creativity instead of raw speed. The crowd watched in confusion at first. Then in fascination, Seojin wasn't running the course the way it was designed. He was reimagining it. His time wasn't the fastest, but it was respectable. And his approach was something no one had seen before. Other humans followed his lead. Each one used creative movement to compensate for their lack of pure speed. Coach Hyun, who had been a military trainer on Earth, completed the course using efficient military movement techniques. The crowd began to cheer for the humans, appreciating their innovation. The humans placed fourth in speed trials. Not great, but better than expected. More importantly, they had shown that humans didn't think like other species. They adapted. They innovated. The third event was environmental endurance. Competitors had to survive in 5 different extreme environments for 30 minutes each. Extreme heat, extreme cold, high radiation, toxic atmosphere, and crushing pressure. Most species could handle 1 or 2. Very few could handle all 5. This was where Sora's research paid off. She had discovered that human bodies adapted quickly to environmental stress. The humans had trained in every condition the coalition would allow. Now they would prove what human endurance really meant. The Maroon were expected to dominate this event. They were known for surviving in harsh conditions. They went first, and several completed 3 or 4 environments before succumbing. The crowd was impressed. Then the humans entered. Ji-hyun went first again. She entered the extreme heat chamber. The temperature was enough to kill most species within minutes. Ji-hyun's skin turned red and sweat poured from her body, but she controlled her breathing, conserved her energy, and lasted the full 30 minutes. She moved to the extreme cold, then the radiation, then the toxic atmosphere. In each environment, her body adapted. Not easily, not without pain, but it adapted. When she completed all 5 environments, the arena erupted in shock. More humans followed. Not all of them completed every environment, but most completed 3 or 4. Their completion rate was higher than any other species. The crowd realized they were witnessing something special. Human endurance wasn't just physical. It was mental. They simply refused to quit. The humans won the environmental endurance event. It was their first victory, and the crowd's cheers were genuine. Even the aliens who feared humans couldn't help but respect their determination. The 4th event tested strategic combat. Competitors used non-lethal simulation weapons in tactical scenarios. This required intelligence, planning, and quick thinking. Taejin led the human team for this event. He had spent weeks studying how other species fought. The Kralix used brute force. The Venthi used speed and overwhelm tactics. The Maroon fought individually. All of them followed predictable patterns. The humans did something different. They used guerrilla tactics, misdirection, teamwork that confused opponents. When facing a stronger enemy, they didn't fight head-on. They used the environment. They worked together in ways that made them seem like they were everywhere at once. The crowd watched as the human team defeated opponents that should have crushed them. They saw 5 humans coordinate perfectly to take down a Kralix squad. They saw tactical thinking that hadn't been used in the arena for generations. The humans placed second in strategic combat, losing only to a species that had been training for these trials for years. But their performance shocked the judges. High Arbiter Kelthor looked disturbed. The fifth event was team coordination. 5-member teams had to navigate a complex puzzle maze while connected by safety lines. They had to move together, think together, and act as one unit. Most teams struggled because individuals wanted to lead. The human teams excelled. This was what they had been training for all along. They communicated constantly. They trusted each other completely. When one person struggled, the others supported them without hesitation. Their emotional bonds, which had confused aliens during training, became their greatest strength. The humans won the team coordination event convincingly. Their completion times were the best in a decade. The crowd roared with approval. Even species that had been hostile to humans found themselves cheering. The sixth event was the Endurance Marathon, a brutal course that pushed competitors to their absolute limits over 6 hours of continuous movement. Most species sent their best athletes and hoped they could finish it all. This was humanity's event. Jihyun led a team of runners, and they approached the marathon with the knowledge that their ancestors had evolved doing exactly this. Persistence hunting. Running until prey collapsed. The humans weren't the fastest, but they maintained a steady pace that never faltered. Hours passed. Other competitors dropped out, exhausted. The Kralix quit after 2 hours. The Venthi after 3. The Maroon lasted longer, but eventually they fell behind. The humans kept going. Jihyun crossed the finish line first, completing the marathon faster than any competitor in 1,000 years. Behind her, 20 more humans finished in the top 30 positions. The arena went wild. The crowd chanted something that had never been chanted before. A human name. Jihyun! Jihyun! After 6 events, the humans were in 3rd place overall, but they had won the hearts of the galaxy. Viewers across countless worlds watched in amazement as the myth became reality. As the legend proved to be more than just a story, the final event was the Gauntlet. It combined elements from all previous events: strength, speed, endurance, strategy, and teamwork. Teams of 10 would compete simultaneously in a massive course that could break even the strongest competitors. The humans gathered for a final meeting before the Gauntlet. They were exhausted, injured. The days following the field trials were strange. The humans returned to their quarters expecting judgment from the Coalition Council. Instead, they found crowds of aliens waiting to meet them. Young beings from a dozen species wanted to talk to the humans who had refused to quit, who had shown what determination really meant. Station Orinthia's public areas buzzed with discussion. The trials had been broadcast across the galaxy, and reaction was swift. Some species were afraid. Others were inspired. But no one could ignore what had happened. Humanity was real, and humanity had proven themselves. High Arbiter Kelthor called an emergency council session. The humans were not invited, but Commander Tilrax attended and reported back to them afterward. The council is divided, he said. Half want to grant you recognition immediately. The other half fear what your presence means. Kelthor is trying to find a way to reject you despite your performance. Can he do that? Yunji asked. The law is clear. Species that compete in the trials and place in the top 5 earn recognition. You placed 3rd. By law, you've earned your place. Tilrax paused. But Kelthor doesn't care about law. He cares about power. If humans join the coalition, it changes everything. While the council debated, something unexpected happened. A signal reached Station Orinthia from deep space. The source was identified as a human vessel. Another colony ship had awakened. Hyunwoo rushed to the communication center. The signal was weak but clear. A woman's voice came through, speaking in Korean. This is Captain Yeona of the Promise of Tomorrow. We are searching for Station Alpha. Our last known position was... Wait, where are we? Promise of Tomorrow, this is Captain Hyunwoo of Wanderer's Hope. You're in Coalition space. How many crew do you have? There was a long pause. 10,000, Yeona replied. We have 10,000 people in cryo. What do you mean, Coalition space? What happened? Hyunwoo explained everything. The 10,000 years. The Galactic Coalition, the field trials. Yeona listened in silence. When he finished, her response was simple. We're coming to you. Give us coordinates. The news that another human ship was approaching sent shockwaves through the station. One ship with 200 people was manageable. A ship with 10,000 changed everything. The galaxy realized that humanity wasn't just returning. Humanity was awakening across space. The council called an emergency public session. This time the humans were invited. Required, actually. Hyunwoo, Yoonji, and the senior crew stood before the assembled council, while billions watched through broadcasts. High Arbiter Kelthor stood to speak. His silver face was stern. The field trials have concluded. The human team placed third overall, earning them the right to apply for coalition membership. However, circumstances have changed. Another human vessel approaches with thousands more of your kind. The council must consider whether humanity poses a threat to galactic stability. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some council members nodded. Others looked uncomfortable. Kelthor was trying to use fear of human numbers to justify rejection. Ambassador Yoonji stepped forward. High Arbiter, you speak of threats. But what threat have we shown? We competed in your trials fairly. We followed your rules. We saved lives during the station fire. We welcomed aliens into our training. We have done nothing but seek peaceful coexistence. You are dangerous, Kelthor said. The ancient records make that clear. The ancient records were written by people who feared us, Yoonji countered. They erased us from history rather than accept us as equals. Is the coalition going to make the same mistake? A council member from the Venti stood up. I watched the trials. I saw how humans compete. They don't fight for individual glory. They fight for each other. That's not dangerous. That's admirable. Another member from the Kralix rose. My species prides itself on strength. The humans are not stronger than us, but they have something we lack. They refuse to surrender. They taught us something valuable. Is this the lesson we thank them with? Rejection? More council members spoke. The tide was turning. Even species that had been skeptical were reconsidering. The trials had shown them something they didn't expect. Humans weren't monsters. They were people with extraordinary determination. But Kelthor wouldn't give up easily. And what of the others? If one ship has 10,000, how many more are out there? What if 100 ships awaken? 1,000? Can the coalition absorb so many of a species we don't understand? Before Yoonji could respond, a new voice spoke. It came from the audience section where aliens were allowed to observe. A young Maroon named Calix stood up. He was one of the aliens who had trained with the humans. I want to speak, Calix said. I know I have no official standing, but I must say this. The council looked at Kelthor. He nodded reluctantly. Calix walked to the center of the chamber. His voice was strong and clear. I am Calix of the Maroon people. I trained with the humans. I learned from them. They taught me things my own people never taught me. How to work as part of a team. How to value others as much as myself. How to keep going when everything says to quit. He looked directly at Kelthor. You ask if humans are dangerous. Yes, they're dangerous to our comfortable lies, to our excuses, to our selfishness. They're dangerous because they show us what we could be if we tried harder. The chamber fell silent. Then another young alien stood. A Venti. I also trained with the humans. Calix speaks truth. We asked them to teach us, and they did. Without hesitation. Without asking for anything in return. Is this how we thank them? More young aliens stood. 8 different species, all speaking in support of humanity. Their elders in the council looked at them with surprise and something else. Pride, perhaps, or hope. An older council member, one who had been silent until now, finally spoke. She was from a species called the Lithans, known for their wisdom. I have lived for 300 years. I have seen the coalition make many decisions. Some good, some terrible. I remember when we last faced this question, when the Maroons sought membership. We were afraid of them too, but we accepted them and they enriched our coalition. I propose we make the same choice now. Accept humanity. Learn from them. Grow with them. The vote was called. It was close. So close that every single vote mattered. When the count was finished, the result was announced. By a margin of 1 vote, humanity was granted recognition and offered coalition membership. The chamber erupted in noise. Some cheered. Others protested. But the decision was made. Humans were officially recognized as a sentient species with all rights and protections. The myth had become reality. The legend had a seat at the table. High Arbiter Kelthor looked defeated. He had failed to keep humanity out, but he was politician enough to accept the result with grace. The council has spoken. Humanity is welcomed into the Galactic Coalition. May this decision prove wise. After the session, Hyunwoo found himself surrounded by aliens wanting to talk. Some were former competitors from the trials. Others were officials offering opportunities. But the most important conversation was with Commander Tilrax. My people want to propose something. Tilrak said. A joint exploration program. Human and Varesh ships working together to explore unknown space. We provide the technology. You provide the determination. Together we could discover things neither species could find alone. I like that idea, Hyunwoo said, but I'll need to discuss it with Captain Yona when she arrives. The Promise of Tomorrow reached Station Orinthia 3 days later. It was massive, designed to carry 10,000 people in cryosleep. Captain Yona was tall and confident with eyes that had seen difficult choices. She and Hyunwoo talked for hours, comparing experiences and making plans. We're not alone anymore, Yona said. There are other ships out there. Dozens of them. All launched from Earth with the same mission. To find new worlds and ensure humanity survives. They're all scheduled to wake up within the next decade. Then we need to prepare, Hyunwoo said. We need to show them there's a place for humanity in this galaxy. The Coalition designated a section of space for human settlement. It wasn't the richest territory, but it was theirs. The Promise of Tomorrow would establish the first permanent human colony there. Others would follow. Ambassador Yoonji was appointed as the first human representative to the Coalition Council. She would work alongside an advisor named Biom, a human who had been a politician before joining the mission. Together, they would give humanity a voice in galactic affairs. Young Doyen requested permission to work with alien engineers. He wanted to learn their technology and share human innovations. The Coalition approved, seeing the value in such exchanges. Similarly, Dr. Sora proposed a medical exchange program, human and alien doctors learning from each other. The trials had opened doors. Now it was up to humanity to walk through them. 3 months after the trials, a celebration was held on Station Orinthia. It honored all species that had competed, but the attention was mostly on the humans. They had placed third, but they had won something more important: respect. During the celebration, Ji-hyun was approached by young aliens wanting her autograph. She laughed, not used to being famous. I just ran, she said. Anyone could do it. No, a young Venti told her. You didn't just run. You refused to stop running. That's different. That's special. Elder Dongha watched the celebration with tears in his eyes. He thought about Earth.